What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are getting into the final bracketology before we predict the actual NCAA tournament. Less than like 19 hours, something like that. Or, yeah, I mean, it's 1 a.m. right now for my time. Before we fill out the actual NCAA bracket, I will be filling it out right after Selection Sunday because I just want to get into it, obviously. I've done that the past couple years. But, yeah. For this bracketology, we will not be doing Joe Lundardi. I have my own bracket that I have just made up here. Of all these teams, made the rankings of how I think these teams should fit into the bracket, just to, spice things up a bit. But before we get into this bracket here, I want to shout out all the teams today that won their conference and have punched a ticket. It's a lot of teams, but we're going to go through it. Vermont punched their ticket from the American East. Howard punched their ticket. New Mexico punched their ticket out of the Mountain West, beating San Diego State. Iowa State dominates Houston, wins the Big 12. We have UConn beating Marquette. They get their automatic qualifier. Akron winning the MAC. Crazy game versus what was their name? I forgot the team, but they had a wild one where Akron got fouled on accident, like an intentional foul on accident, and got sent to the line. But then we do have St. Peter's back in this NCAA tournament, winning their conference. NC State obviously upsetting North Carolina. They have clinched a tournament spot. NC State, man, a 10 seed going all the way, winning 5 games in a row. That's pretty impressive. Shout out to NC State. Then we got Western Kentucky winning Conference USA. Oregon beating Colorado, clinching their spot right there. We got Long Beach State at the 20, winning their conference. Grambling State winning the SWAC, take it down. Texas Southern, who seems to always win that conference. And then Grand Canyon, who just finished their game versus UT Arlington, winning the WAC. So those are all the automatic qualifiers, plus some crazy games like Purdue falling to Wisconsin today. All right, but anyway, guys, we take a look at this bubble here. Obviously, the bubble got small because Oregon won today. Florida Atlantic lost, so there's going to be an automatic qualifier from the American Conference that's not Florida Atlantic. You got NC State winning, so that's like 3 spots that just kind of steal away from these teams here, unfortunately. But yeah, the last 4 byes are Northwestern, Florida Atlantic, Colorado State, and Colorado. Last 4 in Michigan State, Texas A&M, Dayton, and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the last team in. I was debating putting Seton Hall in above them, but I didn't. Also, I think Dayton being at 40 or in this last 4 in would be a little bit of a surprise to some people, but I'm just honestly don't see the hype in Dayton. I know they've only lost 7 games, but still, I think they deserve to be on this list with all these other teams. But then we have the first 4 out, Seton Hall, St. John's. Both of these teams, I think, are tournament caliber teams. But I think they'll miss out. And then Virginia and Indiana State. You also have teams like Pittsburgh and Providence, Ohio State, teams like that missing out as well. All right. Those are the automatic qualifiers. Just want to kind of take a look here. You can scroll through. The number 1 seeds, I do have UConn as the number 1 overall seed. Also, these things, if you see the black star means that they're eliminated. That arrow means they clinch their conference, so they have an automatic qualifier. But yeah, if you want to take a look here at how I kind of came up with the seedings here, there's still some changes that can be made. Obviously, Auburn, Illinois have games. Wisconsin, Florida also, I think, are teams that can climb to 5 seeds with wins in their conferences. But yeah, other than that, everything I think is set in stone for what I would have it. If you just want to take a look at these seeds. All right, but anyway, guys, those are Stetson is not 22-1. Just realized that. But anyway, guys, that is my bracketology. I want to hear some feedback from you guys how I did on these rankings. So comment down below what you guys think. But let's get into our predictions here. And that's going to start out with the first 4 games. We got Texas A&M taking on Dayton. And yeah, you can see when there's 2 10-seed playing games, that's how you know there's a lot of bid thieves. So a lot this year. I do have Texas A&M beating Dayton. I think Dayton's a team that's just falling in this NCAA tournament, not playing their best basketball, played it better at the beginning of the year. I think they will lose that one. But then give me Wagner to beat Grambling State. I do have Michigan State beating Oklahoma. And Howard beats Montana State. All right. So here in the round of 64, give me UConn to beat Wagner. Texas Mississippi State's a good matchup here. I got Texas. Yeah, I got Texas, though. I still believe in Texas right there. Give me Texas. BYU, I think, beats VCU. South Carolina, UAB, give me South Carolina. Interesting game between Utah State and Oregon. Oregon, obviously, one of those teams that clinched their conference. But I do have Utah State winning it. Creighton beats Oakland. Nebraska pulling off the win over Colorado State. And Iowa State beats Long Beach State. So I do have all chalk in our first region right there. But just wait, we will have some upsets. North Carolina versus St. Peter's. Give me North Carolina. TCU taking on New Mexico, 8 versus a 9. That's a fun one. I got New Mexico, though. The way they have been playing, they're playing great basketball at the right time. Give me New Mexico to advance on. Then I got an upset pick here. I'm going to go with 12-seeded Samford upsetting the Jayhawks here. Jayhawks are an upset caliber team in the first round, in my opinion. Samford is a solid 12 seed. I got them pulling off that win. But then I do have Alabama beating Yale. I'm also going to go with another upset here. I'm going to go with the red-hot NC State Wolfpack to upset the Nevada Wolfpack here. NC State playing great basketball. I think they can continue it in this NCAA tournament. But then I do have Kentucky beating Colgate. St. Mary's, Texas A&M. I do have 7-seed St. Mary's. And Arizona is going to beat Western Kentucky. All right, here. Next up, we got Purdue taking on Howard. I do have Purdue. Boise State, Northwestern. Give me I believe we had this matchup last year. 7 versus 10. Give me Boise State Northwestern. I also just realized that. My bad. We can't have that, but because it's 2 Big Ten teams, but we would have had to move Northwestern somewhere else. But we're just gonna keep it for now. Sorry about that. But anyway, moving on. Texas Tech McNeese. I am a firm believer in McNeese. But Texas Tech, I don't think, is an upset caliber team. I think they're a very well-coached team. I think they will pull off that win over McNeese. But then we got 13-seed Vermont pulling off the upset over Duke here. Vermont continuing to dominate in their American East Conference. I think this is their year that they could go on a run in the actual NCAA tournament and pull off a big upset. Give me Vermont in that one. But then Wisconsin, Drake. Wisconsin's playing great basketball as of late. It's a tough matchup versus Drake. I'm actually going to go with the upset here. We see this time and time again, honestly, in the Big Ten where a team just goes on a run in the Big Ten tournament, wins the Big Ten tournament, and then loses it. A couple years ago, it was very similar to what Iowa had. I think Wisconsin could have that happen. I'm not trying to diss on Wisconsin. I'm still kind of getting back into them here. They're a good team, but I think they could lose right there to Drake. But with Drake is a very good team. That would be a good matchup. But then I do have Auburn beating Morehead State. Gonzaga, Colorado, 7 versus a 10. Give me Colorado in the upset. And then Tennessee, I think, beat Stetson. Colorado just lost their first game in like 8 games, I think, last night. So red hot team losing there. But anyway, we do have Houston beating Longwood. Clemson, Florida Atlantic. 2 teams I'm not very high on, but if I had to pick, I would go with Florida Atlantic, honestly. But then I have a 12/5 here. Give me the Grand Canyon Antelopes, I believe. I think they pull off the upset over, San Diego State, who just lost today. San Diego State's a good 5 seed, but I think they have upset potential, especially with these really solid 12 seeds. Give me the upset. Then I got Illinois beating Charleston. Florida, James Madison. James Madison got a tough draw here. Florida's a great team. I don't see James Madison pulling off that upset. I mean, I can see it, but I'm not going to predict it. I believe in Florida more. I am going to go with the Gators. But then give me Baylor to beat Akron. Michigan State, I think, pulls off the 10/7 over Washington State. And Marquette beats South Dakota State. All right, here we got UConn taking on Texas for a spot in the Sweet 16. I do have UConn right there. BYU, South Carolina would be a great matchup if we see it. I know South Carolina is probably not going to get a 4 seed. I think they deserve to, but this is an interesting one. I'm going to put faith in my BYU Cougars. Hopefully we can get red hot for this tournament. But both those teams could score in a hurry. I could see this one being just a blowout for one of the teams because one team's off and the other one's on. But I'm going to go with BYU. Or it could be one of those crazy high-scoring games. It could go all these ways, but as all these games can. But then we got Creighton versus Utah State. I do have the Blue Jays winning it, and Iowa State, I think, does handle business versus Nebraska. All right, North Carolina, New Mexico. New Mexico is a potential upset team if they can play one of these 1 seeds. But I do think North Carolina is still a very solid team. I'm going to go with them. But then I'm going to go with 12-seeded Samford to continue their run, upsetting 4-seeded Alabama, who I think could get upset in this first round. Or even in the first round, if they get the right 13 seed. I think Samford is one of those teams that can beat them. So Samford goes on a run here, beating Kansas and Alabama to move on. But then we got NC State taking on Kentucky. Why not go with some fun here and go with the 11-seeded NC State Wolfpack, continuing their run, playing great basketball in the ACC. Very impressive. I think they can move on past the Wildcats, who are an iffy team in my eyes. And then I'm going to continue with the upsets in this region. Arizona, I think, falls to the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's, we are just raining down the upsets in this region here. I was even debating going New Mexico. That would be a very insane region. But I am going to go with St. Mary's here over Arizona. I just don't believe in Arizona at this point. They have talent, that's for sure. But if they play a good, solid 7 seed, a very good defensive team like St. Mary's, I think they could get upset. All right. Next, we got Purdue taking on Northwestern. Not a matchup that's supposed to happen, but we will have Purdue winning it. Texas Tech, Vermont, 5 versus a 13. I do have 5 seed Texas Tech advancing. Next up, we have Auburn beating Drake, and Tennessee, I think, beats Colorado. All right, here, Houston taking on Florida Atlantic. Give me Houston. Illinois Grand Canyon, 12 versus a 4. Could see the upset, but I'm going to go with the Fighting Illini. This was a very difficult game for me to put in because I wanted to bring Florida. They're one of my 6 seeds that I could see going on a run here. Against Baylor, though, I'm a firm believer in Baylor. I think the Bears would get the job done. And then Marquette, Michigan State. I have to go with Marquette there. So we do have 1 through 4 advancing on. Although Michigan State could, we see it all the time with Tom Izzo pulling off these upsets over 2 seeds. Last year they just did it, of course. But all right, our Sweet 16 set now. We got UConn taking on BYU. UConn's just too hard to stop. I mean, UConn, if BYU's on, though, I'm telling you, they are a very dangerous team. But so is UConn. And BYU, it's not even guaranteed that they'll play like that. So give me UConn. Creighton versus Iowa State. 3 versus a 2. I do have the Iowa State Cyclones, who look incredibly impressive versus Houston today. All right, North Carolina, Samford. As much as I want to continue the Cinderella story, I got to go with North Carolina. Then we got NC State, St. Mary's. We could see, and I just want to do it here. I'm going to go with NC State to have a rematch versus North Carolina in the Elite Eight, making a run. This would be very weird for me to do in the actual NCAA tournament. I think I'd probably go with St. Mary's, but just for fun, I could see that matchup going either way. Give me NC State to make a run. All right, Purdue, Texas Tech. I do have Texas Tech could be an upset team, but I do have Purdue. And then give me Tennessee, Auburn. I do have Tennessee winning that matchup. All right, here we got Houston taking on Illinois, 1 versus a 4. I think I'm going to go with Illinois with an upset. I do think I have to have one of these 1 seeds falling. Illinois, I think, has the best chance of all these other teams here to pull off this win. Houston, I think they fall early in the Sweet 16 again this year in this bracketology. Give me the Fighting Illini. Then Baylor, Marquette. I do have the 3 seed. Baylor winning that one and moving on. So for a spot in the Final Four, UConn, Iowa State. UConn, the number 1 overall seed right here, taking on a very solid 2 seed in Iowa State. This would be a tremendous matchup in the Elite Eight. I'm going to give some love, though, to Iowa State. I believe this was my national championship it was Purdue, Iowa State. But yeah, I do have Iowa State winning that one as a 2 seed. Let's go with them. But I do have North Carolina getting revenge versus NC State and moving on to the Final Four. Next up, we got Purdue, Tennessee, 1 versus a 2. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go with Dalton Connect and Tennessee, who I'm still a believer in. They played very bad in their first matchup in the SEC tournament. I think that could be a good wake-up call for them. Still a believer in Tennessee. Give me them to advance. And then finishing it off, Illinois, Baylor, 4 versus a 3. I got 3-seeded Baylor at winning versus Illinois and moving on to the Final Four. So our Final Four is set here. We got 1 seed North Carolina, 2 seed Tennessee, 2 seed Iowa State, and 3-seeded Baylor for our final bracketology. We'll see if my bracket looks like this in the real actual NCAA bracket. Obviously, all these matches will probably be different because that's just how it is. But anyway, Iowa State, North Carolina. I got Iowa State, the Cyclones, advancing on to the national championship game right there, taking on the 2 seed in Tennessee. So we got a matchup between 2 seeds for the national championship. And I'm going to put my faith in Dalton Connect and Tennessee to fix things, get back on track. I'm still a firm believer in Tennessee. Could be the potential team I actually pick to win it all in my actual bracket. And for this bracketology, I am doing it with these matchups. Give me Tennessee to win it all. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching this video today. Comment down below how you think I did on filling out this bracket. Obviously, I had some things here. I think Auburn, I probably should have switched Auburn with another 3 seed because I don't think they can play Tennessee that early in the Sweet 16. Also, didn't mean to put Northwestern right there, but still, I think I did a good job. Leave the comments to see. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Peace out.